Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. A reminder of our major stories. Ogoni leaders frown at delay in kickstarting much publicized cleanup of their land. Project handlers announce plans to meet with INEC officials on modalities for flag off. Over 5,000 persons displaced by Boko Haram attacks return from Cameroon following return of peace in Polka in Borno State. Some Lagos residents demand explanation from electricity distribution companies for overbilling and non-supply of prepaid meters. And US President Donald Trump continues attack on media, releases video depicting him wrestling a CNN logo. For more on our top stories and others, please visit our websites, channelstv.com and youtube.com/channelsweb. Log on to m.channelstv.com to watch us on your mobile device, or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows devices from their respective stores. Having the Channels TV and Channels 24 app will give you access to news and updates. You also have the Eyewitness feature, so you too can be part of the news. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions to share those pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Speaking of which, let's take a look at some of the pictures that you sent into our Eyewitness portal. We'll begin with this one. It's the image of a flooded road in Isolo area of Lagos. Eyewitness reporter is calling for immediate government attention to the plight of residents, especially in the construction of drainages. The next picture is that of another flooded area, but this time in Isio area of Benin City, the Edo State capital. Eyewitness reporter says the area lacks proper drainage system, leading to breakdown of cars, and residents are now calling on government to do something quickly. Our next picture is also from Benin City, showing abandoned articulated vehicles and trucks along the Benin-Abuja highway. Eyewitness reporter says the trucks have spent at least 4 days at the same spot due to the bad state of the road. They're now calling on the federal government to urgently repair the Benin-Abuja highway. Finally, we have this image from Jos, the Plateau State capital, showing the poor state of the road linking Fusa, Forsum and Mejuju communities. Our Eyewitness reporter says the contractor working on this road has abandoned it, forcing motorists and residents to go through hard times, even as they continue to beg government to allow the contractor return to work. Well, thanks for sending in those pictures, and please keep them coming. In the meantime, the former special assistant to former President Goodluck Jonathan on political affairs has announced his exit from the People's Democratic Party. Mr. Donya Kukwe says his exit is hinged on the fact that the former ruling party could no longer be saved, notwithstanding the faction that emerges victorious in the ongoing battle between Ahmed McCarthy and Ali Sheriff. The politician from Ogun State also said he would no longer participate in active politics for the foreseeable future unless he is called upon by divine intervention. Mr. Akukwe served as Mr. Jonathan's public affairs aide from 2012 until the former president was defeated in elections in 2015. It's about 2 years to the 2019 general elections, and the electoral umpire, INEC, which is at the center of the process, does not have full composition of its leadership, especially in the states. Last week, the presidency announced appointments to replace 14 of 33 positions of resident electoral commissioners whose tenures have expired. But there are still a series of questions over the running and functionality of the electoral umpire. In this report, our political correspondent, Shion Kimbaloye, highlights some of the issues raised.
After the 2015 general elections, Professor Altairu Jega bowed out as the chairman of Nigeria's Electoral Commission, INEC. Another professor, Mahmoud Yakubu, took over. As soon as he took office, he was confronted by the enormous task of conducting several governorship elections, which were outside of the usual general election cycle. From Bayelsa to Kogi, Edo to Ondo State, governorship elections were held, and Professor Yakubu-led INEC felt the heat. Inconclusive elections were rampant. The commission was first to get creative, and after Bayelsa election, the commission reconfigured its process by collapsing accreditation exercise with the proper voting process. In the midst of all that electoral challenges was the legality of a full composition of the INEC board. That debate went on for some time. Afterwards, 33 states did not have resident electoral commissioners, RECs as they usually called, as their tenures expired. Recently, the presidency sent names of REC nominees to the National Assembly, and after consideration, some of them were approved. Last Thursday, the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, approved the appointment of 14 RECs, and they have been deployed to different states. The question now is, does the presidency have the prerogative to deploy appointed RECs? Another big question is, 33 states are without RECs, only 14 are now being deployed. Shewa Kimbaloye, Channels Television News.
Joining us to discuss the issues raised is Esther Uzoma, a lawyer and an electoral development expert. She joins us from our studio in Abuja. Esther, thank you so much for joining us on the news at 10. I appreciate your being here. If at this level of electing electoral commissioners, 33 states have been devoid of electoral commissioners, 14 of them just being appointed, what impacts do you think this will have, the vacuum, considering it took so long to appoint these RECs? What impact do you think this will have in the upcoming elections in 2019?
Well, INEC as a body, ordinarily have persons, officers who are well trained, and capable of carrying on the functions and the mandate of the commission. Having said that, it is necessary also, on the other hand, to fully empanel INEC so that they can fly, full masts, having, fully empaneled, having all the resident electoral commissioners, national commissioners duly appointed, because it's a legal requirement. So, moving ahead, come 2019, granted that we have seen an INEC that has functioned, if you ask me, excellently so far, even though they have not, they do not have their full complement of officials. But come 2019, I want to express a certain optimism that every hole, every loophole will eventually, be covered, and then that INEC will function fully.
Well, but why the delay in appointing these RECs? It seems to be a trend with INEC, delaying before doing things. How do you improve on that? We've seen this in the previous elections. So how do you improve on that to make sure, that nothing goes wrong in the next election?
Actually, it is the duty of INEC to nominate, and it is the duty of the executive arm. For instance, the resident electoral commissioners. INEC puts forward the names, submits it to the presidency, who in turn gives it to the National Assembly. It's a process that starts with INEC and then ends with the legislative arm of government, having gone through all the mill. So, I want to say that INEC does its part promptly, but that other part of screening and all that, deciding who to take, who not to take, presidency, clearing them, is another ball game altogether. I see an INEC that is eager, to function excellently, because if you can recall how this INEC started, this was a commission since the advent of this present, chairman of the commission has conducted about 167 elections. He just had to, he hit the ground running. He was inundated with so many elections he had to conduct and all that. And so I see an INEC that is eager to fulfill its constitutional duties. But the truth of the matter is that fully empaneling INEC is a process that starts with the commission but does not end with the commission. So INEC will do its bit and then pass the buck to the other arms of government. This perhaps might explain why the delay in performing some of its functions.
Well, if INEC is not ready yet for elections, you think they're ready for the Anambra elections that are coming up in November? I mean, you give INEC a lot of credit, you know, for their work so far, but with all the delays and so on, and we still have hitches with all the preparations being done. Do you think INEC is ready to take on the elections in Anambra? At least.
We saw an INEC that conducted elections in Bayelsa State. That election was literally an armed struggle. It was like a civil war was declared. We saw an INEC that pushed through when its officials were abducted from, active duty. They were just weeks away. We saw an INEC that persevered and conducted elections. We also saw what happened in Rivers State. An INEC that, against all odds, with very little protection by way of insurance for its staff. In fact, I venture to make bold that this present commission is one of the most responsive public institutions we have presently. INEC dared conduct elections in Bayelsa. INEC dared conduct elections in Rivers State. INEC submitted a lot of its own staff in a non-precedented manner. Is presently undergoing one form of investigation or even criminal trial or the other. I therefore say that truly, that this INEC is even more empaneled, more equipped than, Bayelsa and Rivers State to conduct the Anambra elections. I think they are ready to conduct that elections, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll know when November comes if INEC really has prepared enough for that election. But the Electoral Act, of course, is also being amended. Isn't that coming a bit late, considering that we're just a few months to, the thick of things, the proper preparations, for the 2019 elections? By the end of this year, we'll be talking about elections 2019. And it's now that the Electoral Act is being amended. Do you think that that's being too late, or this is just INEC being thorough?
Well, amendment of the Act is a duty that falls not on INEC per se. The legislatures have finished, their amendment. They made their recommendations. The House of Reps are going through it now. The executive arm also proposed some amendments to the Electoral Act. Eventually, there will be a harmonization, and they will have a single document. I doubt very much, with the pace of things, if that document will be ready for the 2019 elections. But even if it is ready, then INEC, there are just, some few adjustments, because at each stage of this amendment process, INEC was always a part of it. They were part of the commission, the committee that was constituted by the executive arm, to amend the Electoral Act. They also gave insights to the Senate when the Senate was, also amending the Electoral Act. So I don't see that there are no.
Esther.
It's not rocket science. Just find out, there's just a tweak there, tighten this bolt, loosen this, add some other joints. I think they will fly with it if it is ready before 2019.
Esther, you've held brief for INEC tonight, but it's been a pleasure speaking with you on the News at 10. Thank you so much. And when the News at 10 returns ahead of Army Day celebration, military engages in a show of strength, warning against any attempts to effect quick notice against Igbos in the north. Please join us again.